Hey everybody, thanks for listening to the El Toro's podcast, exclusively now on Anchor.fm. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Here, let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on things like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can also make money from your podcast, which is always a plus, with no minimum listenership. And it's everything you need to make a podcast right at your fingertips and in one place. I can't believe it took me this long to switch over to Anchor.fm, but I couldn't be happier now. So, get yourself started and download the free Anchor app now, or go to Anchor.fm to get started.
Professional wrestling from the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic region, Capital Wrestling.
Welcome everybody to episode 7 of the Capital Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Sean O'Brien. You can find us here every Wednesday at 12 o'clock at capitalwrestling.weebly.com/podcast. And also you can find all the new episodes 1 and 2 at capitalwrestling.com/pivotshare. There's a lot going on. We just crowned new tag team champions this past Saturday at Cathedral Hall. Luxury Muscles Incorporated, Bobby Shields, and Stan Styles just won the tag team titles in a gritty win over the Perfect Strangers. So that was good to watch. We had the debut episode last week, the weekend before that. I've been blessed with plenty of great guests, and this week is no different. We're going to get to Matt Sells in a little bit, but to kick off this week's episode, we're going to talk to pro wrestling's resident cheerleader, and also he is known as the Concrete Rose, Sonny Kiss. How's it going, Sonny?
Hey, how are you doing?
Oh, doing very well. I'm very pleased to have you on the show and pick your brain a little bit and just see what's going on in your world.
Well, thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. What you been up to?
Well, this past weekend, I did some wrestling. On Friday, I had my first street fight at Sanctuary Wrestling, which is Sanctuary Step Studio, sorry, and here in Pennsylvania. And it was amazing. It basically ended my rivalry with a really good friend of mine, Jamie Senegal. We're open the gay wrestler. And Saturday, sorry, I have a PS4 on.
Oh, no worries.
Saturday, SWO, Susquehanna Wrestling Organization, and I main evented with Ace Dallas, which was also really amazing because it was the end of our feud. So, there was like a series of ending feuds this weekend, so it was pretty cool. But that's about it. And Sunday, it was just kind of relaxing day. I didn't really do much for Easter, so. And that's about it.
Sunday fun day. They start, making the most of it. But they call you the Concrete Rose, and I guess we wouldn't really envision you in a street fight. So what was that like for you? What were some of the, was that difficult or?
Well, being called the Concrete Rose is actually, that's one of the reasons why is I'm not exactly, your typical flamboyant wrestler. And a lot of times people assume that because I'm the way I am and I'm all like pretty and fun and bubbly and flirty, that I don't have a tough side, and that's where the concrete comes from. So I definitely can get, I can get hardcore. I'm strong, I'm tough, and I'm just like the rest of the boys. I'm no different. I'm just a little bit effeminate. Oh, I guess a lot feminine. But I'm effeminate, but at the same time, I'm still strong and powerful. That's where Concrete Rose comes from. So.
Did you take any nasty bumps and bruises or scars at the street fight?
Oh, not really. You might be able to speak on that. I definitely gave him a few harsh shots, but I'm fine. I loved it. It was a lot of fun, and we definitely kicked out.
Yeah, is there a sense of closure at that point?
Absolutely. After the feud has built up and you guys have, giving each other all these cheap shots and back and forth and, the wins, the losses, the composite of all the moments you guys shared, as far as the backstage fights and all stuff, it finally comes to a head when, the last match comes and, there's this crazy stipulation to it and it's going to blow off. It's really cool, nice closure there.
Where did you find your I always like to start from the beginning. So where did you find your interest and love for wrestling?
It's weird because I actually played the video game first before I actually watched it on TV. That's the funny part. WCW NWO Revenge is one of my favorite video games. And that was the first game I played with my brother and his friends would play all the time. And I eventually, started playing for myself. And I was, just kind of just playing it for fun. And I grew into it. I started loving it. But as far as watching it, some of my earliest moments would be like watching DX was one of my favorites to watch. All their segments were great. The McMahons, obviously, and their feud with Austin, and Kurt Angle, Jacqueline, and Trish and Lita, stuff like that. So, those are like things I remember from my earliest, and I would just watch it, and I really just loved it. I loved the product. I loved the way it was edgy, it was fun, it was hardcore. I was just like every other Attitude Era fan, every person that grew up in late '90s, early 2000s. As a child, as an adolescent, I just kind of grew to love it like that. So yeah.
Yeah, that's right around the time I started watching actually, and I started watching right around '99, and I watched WCW for 6 months, and for some reason did not realize there was a difference. And then I was like, oh, there's this other one called WWF, and I started watching that, and it was definitely a lot edgier. And these days they've adapted to the times, and they're more family friendly.
Right.
Who were some of the stars that that you like really looked up to?
Oh, I am heavily influenced by Rob Van Dam. He is absolutely one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. If not the favorite, my actual favorite wrestler, like the top wrestler in my, like if I had to pick an opponent, it would probably be him. I'm also inspired by Rey Mysterio. I love Dean Malenko, Jeff Hardy, Trish Stratus and Lita, obviously. I'm a huge fan of women's wrestling, as you can tell from my own moveset. I'm very inspired by women's wrestling. Trish, Lita, Jacqueline, Molly, Tori, all of them. And, just all the wrestlers coming up today, like the younger guys in NXT, I'm inspired by a lot of different wrestling. I like different styles. So there's a lot to it. Like, I go by feuds, too. Like, I look at feuds, and it's also really hard for me to say, like, what's a favorite. I mean, I have, like, my, my top three, everyone has their top three, but as far as, like, favorites, like, I can't just pick one. I have to say, so many, because so much inspires me, and it's like, growing up watching wrestling, I loved a lot of different people, whether they're face or heel. I didn't really care. Like, even at an early age, that's just, if I liked you, I liked you, and that was that. There's a lot of different wrestlers, Eddie, incredible, obviously, he's a legend. There's so many out there. I love and respect, what Sabu's done, back in ETW, and there's a lot to it. Like, even, like, I just probably made that insane, but the Nitro Girls, like, even as a dancer, growing up as a dancer, that's, I saw it on TV, and I thought it was really cool. They're doing all these, like, funky hip-hop moves, and I'm just like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I like gimmick stuff like that, too. Like, and people think, that there's just, like, oh, this is killing wrestling. Like, no, I love the whole Too Cool, Rikishi thing, and, Brodus and the Funkadactyls. Like, like, those kind of gimmicks, actually, I'm into that. Like, and that inspires me, because it's fun. Like, it's not meant to be taken so serious,
Yeah, there's definitely.
I just love looking things in wrestling. I'm a very different person.
Oh, we all are in various ways, but that's the thing about wrestling is some people think it has to be serious all the time, but you need to break it up with different things, because you can't have 5-star matches every time, or else everyone get burnt out.
Absolutely, and I feel like, why can't we have those like gimmick matches on the card along with some hardcore, some death matches? I love death matches wrestling. And I would never do it for myself, but I look up to those guys, because they put on a good show, and they really put their bodies on the line for their entertainment. I think that's great. I think that's okay. So I love and respect all kinds of wrestlers. I'm not one of those people who's very judgmental when I watch wrestling, as far as like, people are so like, oh, this, and that. They pick apart, every little thing that they find like wrong with it.
Yeah.
Like me, it's kind of like, they told their story, and that's okay. And let them tell their story. Maybe you may not exactly understand it, but they told their story the way they wanted to tell it. And I think that's how wrestling should be. It's art, and everyone should be creative in their own way.
Exactly, and respectful of other styles and, like you said, stories.
Whether you agree with it or not, and, they told their own story, and they can't see through your eyes, and you can't see through theirs. So, their vision is different from yours.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why sometimes when, say, you collaborate with somebody else, you can, really make really fun and new things.
Absolutely.
Now, you brought up the cheerleading influence in your life. When did you start cheerleading?
I was actually a dancer more so first. I did more dancing as far as gigs and, training and stuff like that. I started training as a dancer when I was in 7th grade. I was doing it always at home, and I would watch, like, music videos and stuff like that, like NSYNC and Janet Jackson, Michael, Britney Spears, stuff like that. I would watch music videos on TV, and I would emulate them.
Mm-hmm.
And I started doing dance classes when I was, like, 13 or 12 at Kennedy Dance Studio here in Jersey City. And I eventually got into cheerleading in high school, and I just thought it was just fun. It was a cool, unique sport, and I was always tumbling because I taught myself at first, and I started doing it in cheerleading, so that was cool. But yeah, then eventually I did some stuff with the NFL as far as prep classes. Basically, it's like a summer intensive. Basically, you go to the stadiums wherever they host the NFL tryouts, maybe like 3 months later, and then you do like a summer intensive.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did the NFL's Ravens intensive last year, and then I did the seminar and tryout for the NFL Jet Flight Crew, which I didn't really make it, obviously, but it was a fun experience, and it was awesome. But
Yeah.
my dancing has led me to some of the coolest moments in my life. That's dancing at the Pulse on Tour, which was a big convention for professional choreographers and upcoming dancers. And do you know Mia Michaels? You probably don't. Mia Michaels is a professional choreographer.
Mm-hmm.
Ice Fiorio did a lot of different artists like Paul Abdul, Janet Jackson, Gildo Oahu, Dave Scott. Dave Scott did the movie You Got Served. And I danced with all of them and did their classes and stuff like that, so that was really cool. My actual dancing, I did a video a long time ago, and did choreography to Judy Torres' song Hell No, and she saw it, and she wanted me to dance with her, and that was really cool. That was a cool moment to, experience. And so, I had some really cool moments in dancing, and it was amazing. But that's not my life, as far as, the future is wrestling for me. It's just because dancing your dime a dozen. Like, everybody can do, turns and flips and backflips, but Sonny Kiss in professional wrestling, like, you've never seen that before, and so that's why I'm here.
Yeah, and that sounds like very special because you not only get your influences from multiple kinds of dancers and choreographers, but also multiple, wrestlers and, past and present. So, you combine all those together, and that's what you get with you in the ring, and that's really awesome.
Absolutely, yeah. I just have fun with it. I love paying homage to people I look up to, and I love, putting a little twist on it and adding my own flavor, my own song to it, and that's really just really what it is, and I just have fun with it, and I think everyone should do that. There's no reason, like, why you shouldn't, take what you love and just make it also better.
Now, a lot of wrestlers have told me before that there's no kind of shape or condition like being in shape for wrestling. How does that differ from dancing and cheerleading in terms of that kind of fitness level?
There's definitely very, very, very different. Wrestling training it takes a different kind of intensity. The drills and everything that we do, and it's really hard to explain like how.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's weird. It's like not everyone can do it, and it's like because being a dancer and being wrestling, it's definitely there's similarities, but it's also like very different. Once you do more and more and more and more, and you train in both respective sports, you get better and better at it. Not everyone can do both. Out of that,
Yeah.
it's really hard to explain, but not everyone can definitely do both because there's definitely a technique that goes along with dance as well as wrestling, and I utilize those with those. More so my dance to wrestling, obviously, because wrestling is what I'm doing now. But I utilize my gracefulness, my flexibility in wrestling to make. I use it as an advantage because I've danced for so many years. So I use my hip hop technique, and I use that into the dance form into wrestling.
I saw there's one spot at Cathedral Hall when you did a drop kick and kind of did a backflip off of it, but then you did a second drop kick and also doing a backflip. And usually on that second one, people lose a little bit of the vertical and they don't get as high. But for you, you got just as high, if not higher, than the previous one. So that is definitely, impressive conditioning right there.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I guess also, being part of doing the choreography and the dancing, it all helps with the memorization. Does that coincide with, memorizing spots and for matches?
Yes and no. I feel like wrestling could be a little more intricate. I mean, I have maybe because I've been doing dancing a lot longer. That way, I can pick up choreography a lot easier. But wrestling is a little more intricate, especially when you're working like certain spots, like if you watch like stuff like Ricochet, stuff like that, and you see what they do, and it's definitely a little complicated. And maybe it's just because I don't have as much repetition doing those things as I did with dance. But I don't know. Maybe I'll be able to tell you to answer this question maybe a few years down the line.
Oh yeah. Well, because I see you've progressed from, I think a few years ago you had 22 matches, and then I think last year you had about 45. So I mean, you're definitely getting up there in terms of your amount of matches.
Well, there's a lot of matches that aren't documented, by the way. So
okay.
I know if you're reading from like the I don't know, what's it, the wrestling database. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of matches that aren't documented on there. But I can tell you how many matches I have right now. I think it's almost about 200. Yeah, between 2013 and now, I've had about 200 matches. Yeah, I think I just hit the 200 mark with my Sanctuary Street fight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm definitely up there as far as match numbers. It's been quite the journey, and I'm loving it so far.
And watching everyone who's seen the match and talking to people afterwards, there was definitely, everyone else is loving it too. And do you feel like you're, breaking down barriers? What does that mean to you?
I do feel a sense of, like empowerment as far as like for the gay community. But like for me, I feel like we've needed this for a long time now, and I feel like we're starting to get it a lot more now, which is awesome. But yeah, I feel like it's not just me; it's a group project with the other LGBT workers as well. And it does feel great to see people, message you and comment like, because of you, I feel like I can be a wrestler now. Because of you, I want to come out to my family, to my friends, even fellow wrestlers. They feel like, yeah, like you inspire me. Like you're so, open with yourself, and you're so comfortable with yourself, and you don't really care, and you're so like fearless, and like that feels really good to hear. To see, the comments and stuff like that from those people. But it's definitely a group project with the other LGBT workers, like Rick, like Eddy, like Jamie Senegal, like Matt Cage, who came out a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many of us out there that are, on this journey trying to break barriers and stuff like that. Anthony Bowens also just came out last year, I think. So, or was it this year? Well, last year, this year, one of them. But yeah, there's a lot of us that are definitely on this journey together. So I'm very happy and that we are doing this and that we are breaking barriers, and I'm excited to see where it goes. We're in our own lanes too, also, so that's pretty cool. We're not like stepping on anyone's toes. Like we're all different, unique characters in our own way. So.
Oh, of course. And I mean, have you run into any like obstacles or like hardships?
Actually, there's one big one that I probably I can't really mention.
Oh, okay.
I can't mention to you.
I totally understand.
Maybe I'll hint it at you, but there's definitely like some things where, even as far as like getting signed to major companies, being who you are, being who I am, I should say, definitely is a setback kind of, because they have to like take precautions with your gimmick, with with your outfit, what you look like. It's a lot to it. It definitely sucks. As far as hardships with the other fellow wrestlers, not really, or not significant enough to where I have to that I have to mention it really.
Yeah, and like no, we don't want to get specific by any means.
I know, absolutely, but even then, like even if there was something, there isn't really much to say.
Yeah.
On it, because it's like it wasn't really relevant enough to mention. I should say.
True. Everyone's more accepting and open these days.
Right, but even to speak on myself, on my own behalf, I definitely carry myself different.
Mm-hmm.
So I carry myself with respect and, with pride and with the self-assurance. And that's important too. And I feel like people can feel that. Yeah, once you, self-assurance is important. And if you walk around, knowing who you are, and you're confident in who you are, and you're respectful of yourself and of others, I feel like that kind of rubs off on people. And they get that vibe and they respect you more.
Mm-hmm. And it only helps that you're part of a locker room with Capital Wrestling that, it's a very diverse locker room. I've called it a melting pot before, and just everyone just wants, it just seems like everyone's happy for everyone, and there's no egos or drama.
Absolutely.
Aside from what you see on screen.
See you guys from all over too, and that's really important that you don't use a roster that's all in the same area, because I feel like the New York, I would say the area itself is just very congested with the same workers as far as all these promotions and stuff like that. So I'm glad Capital is bringing in guys like Ken Dixon, the Dixon line, and guys from the South, and that's really cool. And like Bob and Tim and everybody, they're not using the same guys in this area, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it seems like it's all up and down the East Coast for sure. And speaking of Capital, how did you guys get in touch?
I actually wasn't supposed to be on this first show. That's crazy, because I had a show in Maine, but that was canceled. I'm not sure why. Maybe it was scheduling conflict. I don't know. I don't know what that situation is, but I know I was supposed to be on the first show. I was supposed to be on the next one, but I think Rick had some other things going on,
Mm-hmm.
so put me in his place. Team with Eddie, there I was. But it was also kind of a blessing in disguise, because it's in my hometown, obviously. That was just really cool. My family was like, we're going to be in town. Oh my God, we can come. And I was just like, wow, that's really cool that my family's going to finally see me wrestle for the first time. So that was nice. But it was a blessing in disguise, and that's really what it was. I was going to be on the roster regardless, but to be on the roster when I did, it was perfect.
Yeah, and sometimes it's all it takes is a little bit of fate. And, for listeners who don't know, it's supposed to be the Fella Twins, Rick Cataldo and Eddy McQueen, and they were gonna wrestle the New York Wrecking Crew. But, you filled in, and you guys had a great match, and definitely the crowd was fired up when you all came out, and you had your little flavor to the match, both you and Eddie. But you came up on the short end of things that night. I think Matthew Ryan Shapiro got involved in the finish. What were your thoughts on that match as a whole?
I was a little shocked that we were on first. To me, it didn't really matter whether we won or lost. The best part was seeing my mom, my sister, and my nieces just smiling and enjoying the fact that they were seeing wrestle for the first time. And hear my nieces kind of shouting out "Go Theo, go Theo!" That was really, really cool. So yeah, I didn't really. To me, it didn't matter whether I lost or won. So it is what it is.
And I'm sorry I didn't mention this earlier, but they were, they're known as Fabulous Kiss, you and Eddy McQueen. Was that a name you guys have had for a little bit, or was that made up on the day of?
Well, I think I had a team together for prior, maybe a couple of years ago.
Oh, okay.
First, starting to get some buzz. Yeah, we've seen that before, but Fabulous Kiss is an actual team. I'm not saying we're going to be teaming together, more often, but when we do team together, it's cool, and that's the name that I don't mind using. Fabulous Kiss, why not? It goes. I'll go with it.
Now you took a pretty brutal book spot to the knee. How's the knee feeling?
A lot better now. I'm good. A little book won't hurt. I'm a concrete rose. Like I said, that little book can't get me down. I've taken worse falls and bumps and cracks from bigger people down and from bigger objects.
Yeah, and being in a street fight this past weekend, of course, there's definitely been worse.
Absolutely. So definitely can't get me down with that little book. Try again, Matthew.
Yeah, he'll try again. We'll see if we, I don't know if there's going to be a rematch sometime in the future. Who knows? But looking at the roster, what were I guess you touched on earlier with the diversity of it and stuff. But in terms of talent level, what would you say about the roster?
It's fantastic. Everyone there definitely deserves to be there. They work hard. Yeah, I definitely want to work with a lot of different guys in the locker room. So it's a great roster. Absolutely. Overall, everyone is really unique. He doesn't have people that look the same, that are the same. Yeah, it's a very talented roster overall. Yeah.
And being in Jersey City, that's your hometown, Cathedral Hall. What were your thoughts on the venue? How did that play into your experience of the match?
Beautiful. The venue is beautiful. I actually been in that building before.
Mm-hmm.
I used to go to school across the street, actually. So that's insane.
Oh, nice.
Building before, because I also went to Catholic school, but I remember going down in that basement a few times for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember exactly why. I know we were definitely in that basement quite a few times. But yeah, no, it was really cool to actually be inside the church again and realize, like, oh wow, no, that's there. Oh no, that's there. Oh cool, But it's absolutely beautiful.
So a little nostalgia.
Yeah, definitely. So I definitely will agree. Definitely was a little cold.
Oh, it was frigid. Like I've told other guys, I couldn't feel my feet at the end of the night, but I think in May or June it should be a little bit better.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just going forward, I think that will be the only issue. There's definitely get some heat in there, and if that goes on during the winter. But yeah, it was overall amazing, and it was. I'm sure the fans were like money well spent. Definitely.
Oh, most definitely, and also if you had, I don't know if you got a chance to have any of that barbecue later on, the bearded one.
Oh yeah, I was gonna mention that. Yes, it was absolutely amazing. The barbecue ribs, yum yum, like totally yummy.
I had that brisket grilled cheese, and that thing was like from the first bite, I'm like, this is life changing.
Oh yeah, I didn't get any of the brisket, but it sounded good. It smelled good.
And I actually, when I got a chance to meet you, you were with Matt Sells, and you guys were trading T-shirts. I mean, he's actually going to be on a little bit later in the show. What are your thoughts on Matt?
I love Matt Sells so much. I think he is so humble, is so talented. He's been doing this a very long time. Very underrated, very respectful. Absolutely amazing inside and out. Just amazing person overall. I just wish him nothing but success, and it's only a matter of time. That is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm actually on his show. I did I had a little cameo, a little scene in his show.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's called It's Always Sunny in Matlanta. Yeah. I did like a little segment in his show, and that was pretty fun.
Yeah, I remember watching that. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was I definitely can't wait to do more with that. And
I think that the brilliant part about those is they're so short that you don't need to sit there and watch them for 10, 15 minutes.
absolutely, yeah. He's basically just giving people a quick laugh throughout the day, was it every Thursday he posts one, or every Friday? But yeah, it's awesome. Like, I definitely was like, come on, I want to film more.
Did you guys film it in Jersey City?
We filmed it actually right after Pro Wrestling Magic. We filmed it like right in the bar. We filmed it right there. So that's in Ridgeville Park, New Jersey.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm excited to pick his brain about that show a little bit later on. But in regards to you, what are your goals in not only Capital Wrestling, but also wrestling in general?
Well, Capital Wrestling, I just want to continue to perform in my hometown with the people that I love. That's an easy one. I don't really have much. I'm a very simple person. I'm very chill. I don't really ask as much. I don't expect much as far as these promotions that are all over that are booking me. I just want to have fun and wrestle. But as far as long-term goals and future goals, I definitely, obviously, who wouldn't want to be signed?
Yeah.
It's the biggest thing right now. I want to be Sonny Kiss on a global level. I want to entertain fans all over the world, and I definitely want to be signed to a major promotion and make that happen. And without my dreams, I definitely want to get also into some acting and some performing and other stuff. But definitely wrestling is the main thing on my mind right now, and I definitely want to do it on a global level. So that's all.
Yeah, and with your positivity and your potential, there is no ceiling for you.
Absolutely not, and I definitely will not let any feelings build. come up, want to, finally be seen for my true potential and to finally do it on a global level.
And where can fans find you?
Fans can find me on Twitter and Instagram at SonnyKissXO. That's SonnyKissXO. And on Facebook.com/SonnyKiss1. I don't have a website yet, you guys. I will have a pro wrestling store very, very soon. So, look out for that. And yeah, like my wrestling page, Sonny Kiss the Concrete Rose on Facebook.
You wrestled for Tier 1, Ace Pro, Warriors of Wrestling. What do you have any shows coming up before Capital Wrestling?
Yeah, the Warriors of Wrestling is having a double weekend show. So Friday and Saturday, I'll be wrestling Al Snow on Saturday at the Warriors Wrestling Training Center, which is located at the Fun Station in Staten Island. So definitely want to, be there for that. My first time wrestling someone of this caliber. This is going to be amazing. Yeah, look out for that. So what else do I have? This weekend I'll at Next Gen Pro. Or is that like South Jersey? I forgot the exact.
Yeah, I think it's somewhere around there.
Well, I'm at my free seminar. I'm definitely going to do that for my training. I can think of it right now. Look at my.
Yeah, you gotta flip it up the calendar and take a look.
Yeah. I kind of just kept looking through that, just started my notes, and I check my notes maybe a couple of days prior. I'm like, oh, okay, here we are. But today's Monday, so.
You're just having a case of the Mondays. It's okay.
I thought it was a Sunday too earlier. I'm feeling it's a Sunday.
Do you know what year it is?
Yeah, it's 2017. Yeah, but oh my god, it's insane though. As far as my actual job and my fitness training, I'm a personal trainer, and I try to do so much, and I don't get much sleep at all. And I'm dealing with that right now. It's actually one of the biggest things I'm dealing with. Is trying to maintain good rest and good health, and yeah, it's insane. My schedule is definitely insane.
Yeah, and I'm sure I've heard that from many a wrestler before, where it's just doing the day job and doing this. It takes a special kind of devotion. You can definitely see that you have it.
Absolutely, yeah. It's hard, but
no, for sure, it'll pay off. And I just want to thank you for stopping by today, stopping by the show.
Thank you, Sean.
Oh, my pleasure. And I just want find Sonny on social media, and we'll look forward to seeing you at the next show on June 3rd in Jersey City at Cathedral Hall. After the break, we're coming up next. We're going to talk to the one and only Matt Sells.
You can watch Capital Wrestling every single Saturday at 6:05 p.m. Eastern on the Guys from Queens digital network at gfqnetwork.com. You can also listen every Monday at 12:30 p.m. on Pivot Share at capitalwrestling.pivotshare.com. Also, every Wednesday on Facebook.com/Capital Wrestling and the Capital Wrestling YouTube channel. Capital Wrestling, old school wrestling for the modern fan.
And welcome back to the Capital Wrestling Podcast, Episode 7. I'm your host, Sean O'Brien. You can find me on Twitter at Sean Neutron. Also, I forgot to do the introduction for Twitter earlier, but for Capital Wrestling, but it's Capital Wrestling without the G. And if you want to find any up-to-date info on the upcoming cards, merchandise, tickets, etc., you can go to capitalwrestling.weebly.com. And if you want to find the past episodes, capitalwrestling.weebly.com/podcast. Now, it was great talking to Sonny Kiss, getting his thoughts and picking his brain and hearing his story, and it was awesome to meet him in Jersey City. But I also got to meet another talented wrestler, great guy overall, and you may know him from Ring of Honor, Old Time Wrestling, Pro Wrestling Magic, and now he's with Capital Wrestling. He is the rock and roll model, Matt Sex Sells. How's it going, Matt?
I'm fantastic, Sean. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well, man.
You're giving me a tough act to follow with Sonny Kiss. Sonny Kiss is fantastic. He entertains the hell out of me, so you're going to make me have to be on my A game.
Oh, I mean, I'm sure you love to talk, so I'll just ask you questions, stay out of the way.
There's no sound I love better than the sound of my own voice, so you may have to cut me off. So I love talking.
Just like the bartender, we're going to have to cut you off.
Yeah, that happens often, too.
So what have you been up to lately, man?
In the road wrestling, staying busy wrestling for the most part, which is pretty nice. I'm either on the road with Ring of Honor, or weekends I'm not on the road with Ring of Honor. I'm at Capital, or I'm at OTW, Pro Wrestling Magic, just kind of anywhere else that will have me. Just getting the reps in. So that's fantastic to have that much ring time.
Yeah, I mean, the more experience, the better. But I mean, speaking of experience, you've been around for you've been wrestling since what, 2003?
Yeah, 2003. Started training in '02 and had my first official match Halloween night, 2003.
And how did that start for you? You know, where did you like find the training, and what was going through your head to go, okay, I want to be a professional wrestler?
When I was 14, I read Mick Foley's first book, and it was kind of that first realization I had that, hey, you can be reasonably intelligent and be a professional wrestler. And I don't know why his book inspired me to want to do it, because it's awful, everything he had to go through, and, you know, the prototypical sleeping in the backseat of your car, and all the, you know, bumps and bruises of wrestling training. But I read his book. So at age 15, I'd been playing high school baseball and got tired of the politics of high school sports, and so I decided to give professional wrestling a try. The irony is not lost on me that I was tired of the politics of a sport and decided to get into professional wrestling, the most political game that there is. So when I was 15, I searched for schools, for wrestling schools, and found that Dory Funk Jr. In Ocala, Florida, actually ran a camp for teenagers that wanted to get into wrestling. So I saved up money from working part-time jobs and allowance, all that good stuff. Talked my mother into driving me down from Georgia to Ocala, Florida to attend the camp. Loved it. Thought it was great. Fantastic. He has a state-of-the-art facility down there. So did a couple of camps down there with him, and then found a school in Georgia that was NWA Wildside at the time, which their biggest product is AJ Styles. You may have heard of him. So their claim to fame is, you know, Matt sells.
I think I've heard of him. I'm not sure. I have to look him up.
Yeah, I think he's doing pretty well for himself now. You know, I'm not quite sure. So yeah, I finished training there. Trained under Rick Michaels, Todd Sexton, Sal Renaro, trained me a little bit, and just you know, a whole slew of guys there. And they ran weekly Friday shows. They were kind of like their developmental shows. So I worked there every week, and then worked their TV product at the time some too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it sounds like you got, you know, a lot of experience early on, and, you know, growing up in Athens, Georgia, what was the influence in terms of wrestling? You know, a lot of, I guess you had the old school style down there.
Yeah, I'm very much a fan of like the old school Memphis Southern style. Obviously, anybody that sees my work, you kind of see that more character driven stuff. I was a big WCW fan growing up. It wasn't until like late middle school that I had cable, so the only real wrestling I was seeing was like, you know, WCW Saturday Night, because TBS was a local station in Georgia. So I grew up, you know, Ted Turner was the foundation of my childhood between WCW and Atlanta Braves baseball. So that was kind of my formative years. So it was anybody I could see on WCW Saturday Night, and then when I got cable, it was like, oh my God, there's so much more wrestling. I can watch Raw, and I can watch Nitro now, and Thunder, and all this fun stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there was, back in the day, there's a decent amount of wrestling on, and I'd always look for myself to be like, man, where can I find more? And this is before the days of YouTube, and especially before the days of the network. So to see that all we have at our fingertips these days, it's just amazing.
I know how pissed off 12-year-old me would be, because there's so many times I sit down and go, there's too much wrestling for me to keep up with now. I have to kind of pick and choose what I follow. I've got to follow the products that I'm a part of, as well as the products that I want to be a part of. And I realize there's just not enough hours in the day to digest all of the wrestling I need to. And yeah, like you said, when I was a kid, it was, you know, whatever I could find. Like I would stay up late at night flipping through local channels and find syndicated ECW shows or local indies and stuff, just whatever I could get my hands and eyes on.
Yeah, and when you're 12 years old, you've got all the time in the world. And I think the difference is when you're an adult with a day job, it also takes away from that.
And just the skirting responsibilities and other kids, not doing homework and watching wrestling instead. Well, I remember writing plenty of papers in high school, watching Nitro and Raw.
It's like, how can I relate this paper to wrestling? Can I do that?
Oh, I did that several times. I actually went through my whole freshman English class in college, writing, I think, strictly about wrestling.
Hey, if you can find a way, man, do it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of, like, the day job, I mean, how tough is it for you to balance that and wrestling?
It's been difficult in the past. I'm fortunate right now that I've got a job that allows me to travel kind of at will. There's been times in the past that it kind of creates a headache.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be a teacher, which was fun and would allow for me, to take independent bookings on the good times as travel, and it was really bad trying to kind of kayfabe the alternate personality from the teacher. A lot of times the community and the parents couldn't differentiate Mr. Sells, the science teacher, from Matt Sells, the douchebag rock star wrestler.
Why does that teacher have a black eye?
Exactly. But it was pretty cool. I made my Ring of Honor television debut while I was teaching, so I gained a lot of credibility in my student eyes that day. They all came in after the weekend that area. Oh, well, Mr. Sells can probably beat us up. So.
What year was that?
2014, 2014, I think, maybe, or 13. It's pretty good that it was long enough ago that I can't remember, and that I've been dropped in my head that many times.
So you do the rock and roll gimmick. Where was the influence for that in terms of a musical background, or just a fan of certain bands?
It was always if I wasn't a wrestler, I would want to be a rock star, and I have no singing voice. I've been told by several people that I have the worst singing voice they've ever heard in their entire lives, and I can play like 3 chords on a guitar. I always end up, anytime I'm ever injured, that's always my goal is, while I'm having to step away from wrestling for a little bit, I'll teach myself to play guitar, and I'll teach myself to sing 5 chords, and then not pick it up until I get injured again, and reteach myself to sing 5 chords. So the influence was I was always a huge fan of Motley Crue. Motley Crue is my be-all and end-all as far as bands. I always enjoyed getting dressed up, going to see them play when they were together. So I figured why not incorporate that into my wrestling persona. And then I was a huge fan of guys like Chris Jericho and Shawn Michaels when I was growing up. So it was just kind of the natural progression to try to be like those heroes and idols.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned not having any musical ability. Really, I'm the same way. I can't sing. I've never played an instrument, and when it comes to memorizing lyrics, I struggle so badly. I remember I screw up lyrics of songs I've heard for years. It's as bad.
Oh, no, I can sing, remember the lyrics. I just can't sing them, where they'd be enjoyable and pleasing to anybody else's ear other than mine.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're in the car by yourself, it's fine, and I'm sure you have plenty of time to do that when you're driving around.
And I relish in the fact of how bad I am. I love going to karaoke and doing it top of my lungs.
Oh man, I mean, I think they'd kick you out for that before they kick you out for too many drinks.
Oh yeah.
Or both at the same time. But you were also mentioning, your style is more character driven. How would you describe your style in terms of, in the ring?
It's definitely a storytelling style, a character style. It's become the past couple of years more of a striking style. I've really kind of worked on a lot of my punches and forearms, and realized that I can kind of adapt to a style with that kind of fits a little bit better in Ring of Honor. And I've kind of tried to morph more into a kind of a hybrid style of a lot of different stuff. Being able to keep the stuff that I'm comfortable with and the stuff that I think is my strong suit with character-driven stuff, and then kind of working a more athletic style that I've learned at the Ring of Honor dojo the past couple of years. So kind of a hybrid, but definitely still very much that character-driven Southern Memphis wrestling that I grew up with.
You mentioned the Ring of Honor dojo. What was that like an eye-opening experience when you first walked in there?
Yeah, I went to a camp for the first time 5 years ago. I decided, hey, I'm going to give it a shot. I've been working 10 years at the time, thought, okay, I'm going to go show what I got. Walked into the camp, and 40 other guys there or whatever, and tons of those guys are now on the roster 5 years later, like Penny Marcellia, Hanson, QC Marshall, Matt Taven, all these guys. And I walked in, and I walked out that first day of the camp and seriously contemplating packing my stuff up and quitting wrestling altogether, because everybody there was that good. It was eye-opening to me that I'd been big fish in small pond, thought that I was pretty decent, and realized I had a long way to go. So I kept going to camps, getting better and better, until eventually 3 years ago, luckily my wife was supportive, and she said, we've got nothing holding us back. I know you'd like to go move up there and train at the dojo, so why don't we just move up to the Philly area and you train at the dojo? So moved up here, and went the first night of training, and it kind of blew my mind. And then after that, it was kind of the mindset of, okay, I've been doing this for 12 years, but I'm going to have to bring myself down to rebuild myself back up into the image of what they want. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how I went into it, was, I know nothing, you know everything, please teach me your ways, which was a hard and humbling experience after 12 years of wrestling, thinking you know everything.
What was the like?
They're all very egotistical.
Oh no, for sure. What was the I guess the hardest part to let go of when you were doing that? I guess control.
Yeah, just going, hey, maybe the way I've been doing this is not the right way. You know, even though this was maybe the way I was taught, or maybe I picked up a bad habit here or there, or not even necessarily if I was doing something wrong, just it's done differently here.
Yeah.
And going, you know what? I'm not going to be that asshole. It's like, that's not the way I do it. I want a job here, so obviously I'm going to do it the way you want it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of guys. I mean, you see their pride get in the way, and you're like, dude, what are you doing? You know.
Right. I mean, if Ring of Honor tells me that they want me to go out there and do a hammerlock while I wear a tutu and sing "I Feel So Pretty," that's what I'm going to do. That's their style, because that's where I want to work.
Exactly, and I mean,
not to give anybody ideas and creative. It's like, all right, now Matt's going to be wearing a pink tutu, doing hammerlocks, and singing "I Feel So Pretty." So,
hey, if you're listening, Ring of Honor, don't do that. For not only for his sake, but for the fans.
And I'm sure Matt with Capital Wrestling's probably they're gonna be sitting there like Mr. Burns, excellent hearing this as far as
yeah, he's tapping his fingers together. Now, obviously there's a lot of character in your gimmick. And there's one thing I've noticed you're very good at, and that's the merchandise part of it. Where does that come from? Where do the ideas come from, and like the branding and everything?
The need to make money in wrestling. I saw guys doing merch and doing well with merch, and decided just kind of, hey, what are my interests? What do I like, and how can I monetize this? And t-shirts are always an easy way, and so the t-shirts are just literally stuff I enjoy. I've got one that looks like the Atlanta Braves logo that says Matlanta, because I'm a huge Braves fan. I've got one that says Matt Street USA, like the Freebirds logo, because I'm a huge Michael Hayes fan, obviously, if you look at me. And the rest of them have been beer parodies, because I enjoy beer.
I think you have a Miller Lite one, right?
I've got a Miller Lite one, I've got a Bud Light Lime one, and a Michelob Ultra one currently, and I want to do even more. And that basically just it was embracing how people jokingly perceive me. Because I've got friends that jokingly call me beer because I enjoy beer. So I figured, why not run with it? If that's how people's perception of me is, then let's turn that more into the character and kind of brand it as well, monetize it.
Well, James Storm and Bobby Roode made quite a mark with that.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah, I mean, think of the long history of beer and wrestlers. Steve Austin, Sandman, Beer Money, as you said. It goes on and on.
It definitely there's correlation there for sure. And I mean, when your wife suggested that you guys move up there so you could get the proper training, how much did that surprise you?
It surprised me a little bit, but at the same time, not a whole lot. Like, she's supportive, so that was good. And it was finally, hey, I guess I got to put my money where my mouth is. Like it would turn to fantasy into reality.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, not just going up here for a camp a couple of times a year. It's going to be, hey, let's back up. Let's try to actually give this wrestling thing a go. It's not a hobby anymore. Let's try to make some money with this and make a livelihood out of it. Make it the career I've wanted it to be for so long. You've
had the APW Tag Team Championships, the NWA Atlantic Heavyweight Championship, and also the PWA Tag Team Championships. What do those titles stand out to you, or what is your favorite accolade or highlight in wrestling so far?
Anytime ever being a champion anywhere is pretty cool. Like the first heavyweight title I won for a promotion, it was pretty cool back in 2010 now. Like anytime a promotion views you as like their main thing, that's pretty nifty. That they're like, all right, we're gonna give you the ball and you run with it. So the first heavyweight title was a big deal. The NWA Atlanta title was pretty cool as a fan of the NWA, knowing that I was holding a belt that was affiliated with that company. I was voted a finalist for Most Improved Wrestler in 2012 in Georgia, so that was neat. That people were seeing the work I was putting in, and then I was getting better and better at what I was doing. And then each tag team championship has been cool because I've had several different tag team partners. So to kind of get to meld with somebody and build that friendship and a relationship with another guy and do a tag team act is always fun as well. But I skirted around that question completely. I didn't say one single accolade, so that's a very political answer.
Oh, I mean, sometimes that's the right way to answer it. I mean,
I like to believe so.
After 14 years, I'm sure it's very hard to pick one.
Yeah, they're like my children. I love them all the same.
Except that one that's a douchebag. No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly, yeah.
But you can't have Matt sex sells without It's Never Sunny in Matlanta. Where did that come from? Obviously.
Yeah, it's my all-time favorite show. I love that show. I think it's fantastic. I love the way the characters are written and portrayed, and it's just it gets more and more bizarre and out there every season, and it's just over the top, vulgar and funny and perfect. And that concept for me doing that started basically just trying to entertain myself by passive aggressively complaining about something. So I did this one. It was supposed to be a one shot. I was going to do one thing, do one promo with it, set up with It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia style, and I filmed it and sent it to a couple of friends whose opinion I value, and was advised not to post it because it may get me some heat with some people. So I value their opinion, so I didn't post it. So I ended up doing what turned out to be the actual first episode, kind of making fun of that, about how easy it is to get heat in wrestling. And when I posted it, it got 600-700 views, which I wasn't planning on. And I had a lot of people telling me, hey, but I hope you keep doing these. So the next week, the Falcons were in the Super Bowl. So I figured, hey, my football team's in the Super Bowl. There should be an episode about this. So I did that, and then they lost. And a friend of mine said, well, why don't you do one about them losing? So I did that, and then before I knew it, all these ideas were popping up into my head of stuff that I could do. And so it's become a way just kind of to, again, like you said, with the branding, it's a way to brand myself outside of what I do in the ring. I get feedback from people watching the silly videos, because they're 1-minute videos. Not everybody's going to watch the 15-minute match I post. Not everybody's going to come out to the show every week and spend, the money to see me wrestle. But everybody's going to take a minute out of their week to watch, a silly web short. So I always limit them to a minute. That way, sit there, you take a minute of your time on Thursday afternoon when I post them, and you're done. And hopefully you laugh a couple of times and you amuse yourself. And now it's become like a challenge to me to see what I can pack into a minute, and to see how I can edit stuff down, what kind of concepts I can use, what kind of parodies I can use. I've done a couple of movie parodies. I've got a really good movie parody one that'll be coming out in a couple of weeks that I'm really proud of. And then now I'm proud to say that I'm getting a lot of good, huge name guest stars.
Oh, nice.
I've got some pretty cool guest stars coming up. I've had already some of the past already, like Paul London, Keith Lee, guys like that have appeared in past videos. And I don't want to spoil the ones that are coming up, but yeah, there's some big ones coming up as well.
Yes, talking to Sonny earlier, he said he really enjoyed his cameo on one of yours.
When I came up with the concept for the episode that he was in, I told my wife, I'm like, the ultimate thing would be to have Sonny Kiss appear in the end. I was like, one, I don't think he'll do it. Two, I'm not going to see him before I'm going to post this video. It turned out we're working the same show. I grabbed like, hey man, if you would be comfortable with mine, would you please just do this one line for me? And it makes the video. It's fantastic. So it's a stupid concept. If anybody wants to see it, it was episode 9 of Never Sunny in Matlanta. Go to @AllSellsFinal, ALLSELLSFINAL on Twitter or Instagram, or check it out on YouTube, youtube.com/MattSexSells. You can find all of them posted there. They're a cheap plug, and I'm sure I'll plug it again. But yeah, that one's been one of my favorite episodes because it's so silly and over the top, and it was started out as an homage to the Top Gun volleyball scene.
Yeah, and
that's what the inspiration was with that, and then Sonny at the end totally makes it.
No, that one was hilarious, and I think also this most recent one you had with Kevin Kelly was pretty great too.
It was fun getting him because he's been a mentor for the last 5 years. I met him at the first camp I was at, and he's been somebody that's really helped me craft the character, craft my promos, as well as work on my in-ring work. And so to get him to be able to get to deliver a mean line to me, he popped when I told him the line, and he was happy to do it. So it's very exciting to have him in it. As well as Mike Kingston, who writes the Headlocked comic. That was pretty cool to have him as well. So just another example of 2 guest stars that I've been able to grab.
And I mean, when it comes to thinking of the inception of all these ideas for new episodes, I guess do you film them all a few at a time, or just depends when they come to you?
I try to film them at least a couple of weeks in advance because I like to have the knowledge that I'm able to sit on them and that they'll be there when I'm ready to post them.
Yeah.
Post them every Thursday. Basically make it like a real TV show that every Thursday you're going to get to see this silly web short. So yeah, I usually try to film, at least one a week. A lot of times more than that, depending on who I have around me. Depends on what ideas I've had come. If I write down the ideas, I write them out. Like I've got probably 10 of them written out now. They just need to be filmed.
Yeah.
And the next 3 or 4 weeks are already filmed. And then it's just I'll be sitting watching TV or reading or sitting at work or spitballing ideas off guys in the car driving to shows, and that's when the ideas come.
And who helps you film them, actually?
A lot of it's done myself. A lot of them I bought little cheap tripods and I'll put it on a tripod. Some of them I've had my wife film a scene or two for me. A lot of them I'm just in a locker room and I'll walk up to somebody and go, hey, do you mind just filming this scene for me real quick? And most people are happy to oblige.
And I mean, that's something that can definitely separate you. I remember about 7 years ago, Zack Ryder took a chance and he did a similar thing. I guess it was a few minutes for each show. Your last one, Playing Words, really reminded me of his style.
Yeah, and I always loved that as well. And I try to kind of stray away from that because he has done it before, and I try to make them where they're digestible for even non-wrestling fans. Like there's been very little inside wrestling jargon in a lot of them for that reason.
That's smart.
I don't want anybody to be able to find humor in them. And there's a few coming up where you need to know a little bit about wrestling. Like obviously the term jobber gets thrown around a lot, thrown around in a derogatory manner, and that's the concept of the show is that, I'm kind of life's ultimate jobber, the character I portray, the parody of, it's got so meta. It's me portraying me who portrays Matt Sexel. Just kind of portraying me as, this alcoholic loser jobber guy. So yeah, that's fun to kind of get to be a parody of myself.
No, but I think it's very smart for you to keep it to about a minute in length or so because with the attention span of the current person these days.
That was my goal because I think about the videos I watch online, and even if it's like 3 minutes, I look at it and go, I'm not spending 3 minutes of my time watching it. It may be the best video ever because I, like anybody else, short attention span. So if I see something that's a minute or less, like okay, I can take a minute out of my day.
Yeah.
And it's great because I've posted 11 episodes at this point. You can take 11 minutes a day and be able to watch the whole series thus far.
Binge watch.
My goal is to do 52. I want to do it 1 a week for a year.
And then would you look to continue it or just reevaluate?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe reevaluate. Maybe experiment with a different concept. If I'm still having so much fun with it, and I'm still actually coming up with ideas, then I may have to reevaluate when I get to that point and go, maybe it should be more than 52. But I think if I can get a year's worth out of it, that'd be pretty fun. I'm actually had shirts printed up that I'll have shirts available at all upcoming shows. And I'll ship them out to you as well.
Excellent.
Payment accepted via PayPal, so they're yellow and a take on the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia logo with my mug on there several times, which who doesn't want to have my face adorned across their chest?
No, that sounds like a really classic parody right there. It makes sense with your love of the show and obviously the name of your show. But I also thought like the last episode with Kevin Kelly, even as somebody who knows wrestling, I didn't even see the end coming until the very end. I was like that was brilliant, honestly.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad it wasn't obvious.
Yeah, it wasn't very predictable.
I felt like writing it was obvious, so that's good.
Yeah, and maybe other people might disagree. Maybe they knew it halfway through. Who knows? But regardless, I think people will enjoy it either way. But
right.
I guess like we'll get to Capital Wrestling now. And what were the beginnings with them? How did you become a part of the roster?
Matt Ryan contacted me. I met him at a Ring of Honor camp several years ago, and we had stayed in contact and Facebook friends and all that good stuff. And I had seen him at Ring of Honor shows where he had done commentary, and got a message from him when I was actually traveling. I was back down south working out. I remember he messaged me and asked if I was available for the date for the first show, and it happened that I was, and so I was booked. And then he told me that I'd be tagging with Smiley, which I thought was really cool. I met Smiley a couple of years back. Actually, the first show I worked after I moved to the Northeast, I worked a tag match against Smiley. So that's how I met him. And was looking forward to working with him because I like his character. His work is, of course, a lot different than mine with his lucha-based style. So I thought that'd be a nifty combination. And then Matt contacted me and asked if I could film a promo in the It's Never Sunny in Matlanta style. And so I really appreciated that because it meant that my work was going to be used to get myself over as well as get my character over in and get a promotion over.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty cool. So that's kind of how it started. And then as it became more formulated of how everything was going to work and where they were going to run, because the Cathedral is such a nifty venue. But that was really cool. It's a really cool project to be a part of.
And what are your thoughts on your match that you had that night?
I enjoyed it. It was a fun match, fun crowd, even though the building was frigid.
Oh, yeah.
But I enjoyed it. It was fun getting to work the classics that we worked and getting tagged with Smiley and doing silly, stupid stuff that I don't think there's enough of in wrestling. So many guys want to take themselves seriously now. And us getting to do like the spot with the band where we played air guitar and air drums, the band played along with us and stuff like that. You know, just the silly Southern wrestling type stuff again. That was the highlight of it for me. Was getting to just kind of be goofy with it when we could.
And how did you feel about your chemistry with the classics?
I thought it was great. Like they have of course, very classic style, a very old school style, which was right up my alley. So they kind of worked a similar style to me, and they worked, good foils for our comedy stuff, and good foils for Smiley's lucha style. So it was fun. I thought it was a very, especially considering it was two guys I'd never worked before, and I was tagging with a guy I'd never tagged before. Very happy with the match. I think to get to do that match again at some point, it'd be even better.
Yeah, I know. Like you said, when Smiley came in with that different style, it changed the pace of the whole match and added a little more dynamic to it.
Yeah, and his style's great, his character's great. So all those things, we all worked together really well, I thought. So I was really happy with the match.
And in regards to the rest of the card, the rest of the roster, what are your thoughts?
It's a good eclectic mix of workers. Like you've got some really good talent in there. I'm a huge fan of Bob Evans and Tim Hughes. I hang out with Tim Hughes some outside of wrestling. Don't tell anybody.
Oh no, nobody will listen to this podcast. It's quite all right.
Met the Braves game last week before last.
Uh-huh.
And then Bob's been a mentor of mine since the first Ring of Honor camp I went to. So I love those guys. Preston Quinn, his first match in Ring of Honor, he tagged with me, so he got the rub. I think he's a great talent as well. He's been around longer than I have, so that's always impressive. I think he's like one of wrestling's best kept secrets.
Yeah.
I think if he gets more on a national stage, people are going to go, holy shit, where's this guy been?
Yeah, exactly.
And then Sonny Kiss is amazing. I love Sonny's work. I'm a huge fan of Sonny Kiss from the first time I ever met him. And then, just top to bottom, that whole roster of guys is great.
Yeah, and like you
I'm going to get heat for forgetting names and not mentioning anybody except for like a 4 or 5 people.
you got LSG, you got Logan Easton LaRoe. Yeah, there's tons of guys there. Bobby Shields, Stan Styles.
Even though Bobby Shields and I have to eat each other, I think we had basically the same trunks on in the first show.
That's a good point.
Each other, and we're like, we thought nobody else would have orange zebra print shorts, but looks like we're getting kind of clashing.
Gonna have to thumb wrestle for it.
That's perfect, yeah.
No, but it is
definitely. It's not a shoot fight. He'll totally kill me.
Yeah, with all the muscles, right?
Oh yes, indeed. And it's 5,000 catchphrases.
They're gonna have the show on June 3rd. I guess you won't be a part of that one, but do you see yourself as a part of Capital for the foreseeable future after that?
Oh yeah. I had a blast working that first show. I think they had a really good first show, really good first showing for all of us involved, and I think it's going to do nothing but get better. So it's a project I'm very proud to be a part of, and yeah, definitely if I'm available, I'm there.
Uh-huh.
I love the venue, love the roster, love the fans. I love the concept. I love having the band play an intermission because I'm a huge fan of wrestler entrance music, so that was really cool. And just kind of the old school feel to some of the matches, and like the venue, getting to wrestle in an old cathedral is pretty cool.
It was definitely very different. Like they said, with the temperature earlier, some of the acoustics took a little bit getting used to, but it was definitely the lighting was cool and just the overall feel of it and the experience for sure.
Yeah, the way that a lot of the pictures I saw turned out were great. I can't wait to see how my match translate to video and TV.
Oh, and I'm going to continue to plug Dave Lane and John McClarty because they killed it once again. Every time I see new photos there, I'm just like, damn, that looks legit.
Oh, yeah. They're great at what they do.
Where can fans find you on social media, YouTube, all that?
On Facebook, you can go to my fan page, facebook.com/rock'n'roll model, ROCKNROLL model. On Twitter, it's at allsellsfinal, ALLS final. It's the same thing on Instagram, and then the YouTube is youtube.com/MattSexCell. Every Thursday around 3 p.m. It's Never Sunny in Matlanta gets posted across all those platforms, so you can check it out anywhere. If you enjoy it, please, everybody, repost it, retweet it, all that good stuff. The more views, the better. I do it. I don't make any money from it. I just enjoy doing it and enjoy getting the feedback and seeing that, people get a couple of chuckles out of something I do. Because comedy's been a second passion of mine. I've dabbled in stand-up and stuff. Times I've gotten injured from wrestling. Just got to do that creative outlet. So I enjoy knowing that people, get a laugh or two out of some of the stupid concepts that pop into my head.
You have a very diverse skill set there, not only wrestling, but also comedy. So it's very cool to get to pick your brain about all that.
Yeah, and be able to kind of meld them together. It's great. Like, I like to use comedy and wrestling, and then, of course, wrestling's been the vehicle for me to do any of the comedy. The stand-up persona is based off of wrestling. It's Never Sunny in Matlanta, of course, it's based off wrestling. So wrestling's the platform for everything I do. So I love being able to say that wrestling's kind of given me everything that I've got in life, which is nice to say.
Is it one of those things you're going to be looking to do as long as you can?
Oh, absolutely. I'm started training 15 years ago. It'll be 15 years ago this summer that I first stepped in the ring to train. I'd love to get 15 more.
There you go. And, if you wrestle smart style, stay healthy. I mean, I can't see why you wouldn't.
Yeah, and I've adapted my style some after a couple of injuries. That it's, it definitely has made me be a smarter worker, work smarter, not harder. But it's made me a better worker for that. So, yeah, I think that there's no reason I can't go for the foreseeable future.
Well, once again, man, I want to thank you for coming on the show, Matt.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Sean.
My pleasure. And you can where can they catch you next in terms of shows coming up?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. I will be at OTW the next couple of weekends, Old Time Wrestling in Williamstown, New Jersey. And then I'm going to be on the road with Ring of Honor for their War of the Worlds tour. Not sure if I'll be working or not, but if I'm not working, you're going to see plenty of great names that will be, because a lot of New Japan stars will be on that tour as well. And then, of course, you can see me at some Capital shows after that June 3rd show. And I plan on making a few appearances in the Georgia area this summer, so stay tuned for that as well. Excellent.
Yeah, you won't be there June 3rd, but that card looks like it's got John Kerman, Jeff Cannonball rematch. Logan East on the roll will be there. You're going to have Anthony Gangone versus Maxwell Jacob Feinstein. And also you're going to have the Luxury Muscles defending their tag team titles. And Preston Quinn in the main event will be taking on Mike Law, the colossal Mike Law. You can catch us here every Wednesday at 12 p.m. capitalwrestling.weebly.com/podcast. Also, catch up with previous episodes. And, you go on the website, get merchandise, tickets, find out more information about cards. Follow us on Twitter at Capital Wrestling without the G. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean Neutron. I want to thank you for listening, and I want to thank both my guests, Matt Sells and Sonny Kiss, for coming on. And that'll do it for this week. I'm going to catch you here next Wednesday.